welcome to another episode of the podcast version of BTV. I'm your host today, Marcus Boston, and I have a very special guest today in on conference call, my brother, Dr. Quintin Boston. And today's show will deal with an educational aspect and it'll deal with college life for high schoolers, for people who are already in college, and even for those students who are thinking about going on to do their master's degree or PhD or for further education. Now, first of all, I want to give you a little bit of background on my brother. He graduated from the University of South Florida with his bachelor's degree. He also received a master's degree from the University of South Florida, and he went on to get his PhD from Southern Illinois University. And so I would like to go ahead now and welcome my brother, Dr. Quintin Boston, on to the show today. Quintin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All righty. So did I get everything right on your introduction?
Man, you did. It's not much, but you got it right.
All right. That's good. So the reason why I asked you to come on today and to talk, Quintin, is because we're in August. Today is August the 2nd, and it's getting to be about that time. Schools are getting ready to get started back for not only college students, but for high school students also. And first of all, what we would like to focus on is your take on any type of advice for the upcoming freshmen, for the freshmen that are just getting ready to get started in college right now. What advice would you have for them?
Well, there's a few things. One, depending on how far they are away from home, one of the first things you want to do is, get yourself familiar with the area. Because depending on their commitment in regards to their educational achievement, they'll probably be in that new area for at least 3.5 to possibly 4 years if they stay on schedule with their academics. So one of the things is just kind of getting yourself familiar with the environment. I would probably say once that's done, getting yourself familiar with your classes. I remember one of the first things that I did was a couple of days before that first semester started. I actually walked around the campus. USF was a big campus, but I walked around and got myself familiar with my classes, where my classes would be. That way I wouldn't run into a situation where I'm lost and I don't know, because regardless, even though it's the first day, you still want to get to class on time. You still want to be prepared. So for me, I think it's more, especially for a freshman, it's more of getting themselves familiar with the environmental factors. If they're there at the university and they've gotten into the university, then cognitively there really shouldn't be an issue with their academics. It's more of environmental. For me, it's more of environmental, and it's more social, and getting yourself familiar with with that challenge. The environmental challenge, and also the social challenge of being a freshman in college.
All right, and that right there, we can use that to tie in, because I think that's very important. What you were saying is getting to the campus and knowing what's going on, understanding where your classes are, being familiar with your surroundings. But let's take it a step further and let's talk about that first time, that college freshman coming in and noticing the differences. Can you explain or talk a little bit about what you see? And I also forgot to mention too that you are a professor at North Carolina A&T. So I forgot to mention that in there, but which also gives you a very, very detailed, look and insight as to a lot of this stuff. But can you talk specifically about the difference between from a workload standpoint, from making that transition from high school into college, that first year of college?
Well, again, I think a lot of it, Marcus, is, as they say, now you're playing for keeps now. And what I mean by that is, depending on where you went to high school, and this is no knock against high schools in general, public or private, but depending on your high school, your work may not have been as scrutinized as what it's going to be now. Your teachers really, they have an investment in you, but they don't have an investment like high school. For example, if you don't come to class, who cares? The professor is not going to say, Marcus, I didn't see you in class last week.
I'm going to send a note home to your parents.
Right. Whereas in high school, you may get that note home, yes, or your parents may get that phone call, but you are basically, you are that number. At A&T, they give you a banner number. As you know, when we were in school, you had your Social Security number. Mm-hmm. So they give you a banner number, which is not your Social Security number, but at the same time, that's how you are identified.
Right.
So, for example, when I go through, I only take roll once. And that is the first day of class. That's just in case if somebody drops a course. That's also for financial aid purposes for the university. So I only take roll once. After that, that's it. I really don't. It doesn't. Not so much that it doesn't bother me, but I'm not there to make sure that the student is coming to class every day. So I think that's one of the transitions that the freshmen in going into college that's one of the things they will see. As far as the workload, you only have, let's say, 4 classes, but the difference is you may have 4 chapters to read to get ready for Wednesday's class. Mm-hmm. If you're on that Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, or if you're on that Tuesday, Thursday schedule, which in that case is, the classes are longer because they only meet 2 days a week.
Right.
So I think from a workload standpoint, the reading what I see, the reading what I'm told from other students is, I didn't think I would have to read this much. Second of all, what students have told me before is, I can't believe my teacher is grading every word. And mm-hmm. that's a difference also. When you turn that paper in at 11:01 or however it's classified, that freshman English paper, the professor is actually going to read the paper. It's or the graduate assistant who's teaching the course is going to read the paper. So a lot of times, you can tell when it's been done the night before.
Okay.
So I think it's just, that transition in getting and knowing that the professor is not going to hunt you down if you miss a class. And second of all, you are responsible for the readings. And it's not going to be, you'll be told Tuesday for Wednesday's class, don't forget to read. You won't even go to that class on Tuesday. You'll be there on Wednesday. And when you walk through the door, the professor is expecting you to have read the material.
And see, I think this is really good because for a lot of people who are listening and will listen to this and watch it on YouTube, this gives individuals some insight as to what it's really like, or some of the things that you have to kind of take into consideration, or what you have to be really looking forward to by making that transition, jumping from high school, starting your first year in college. Now, what about also, because I know this is on a lot of people's minds, because they watch TV and they see that type of thing, videos and movies and all of that, the party life of making that transition, the party life of college. Do you have an opinion one way or the other about that?
Well, I'm all for having fun. I do believe in that. But at the same time, you have to remember why you're here. And I'm of the belief, honestly, that not every college student is created equal. And what I mean by that is you can have a good time. It depends on how do you want to have a good time. Some people may figure, I'm going to hit the bowling alley for a few hours. I'm going to hit the miniature golf course. I'm going to hit the arcade at the university. I'm going to hit the little pool room at the university for a few hours. And that's going to be my fun. Some people may look at it, PlayStation 3 or the new PlayStation
4 now.
Come out.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to just get as many PlayStation games as I can. I'm gonna play them in my room, and that's how I'm going to enjoy myself. Some individuals may say, you know what, I'm away from home. I've never been to a club before. This gives me an opportunity to hit the streets. And I think that's where, it goes back to, as we talked about a little bit earlier, that the social development, Marcus, the social development, because you have priorities. No one is saying that you cannot have a good time. The question is, how are you going to go about having a good time? For me, I'm a video game player. That's just what I am. I'm a video game player. I like to bowl. As you know, we grew up, went to the boys club. We shot pool. Those are the type of things that I enjoy doing. So as far as really hitting the street, that really was not a priority for me. It was a priority for some friends of mine. They made it through just like I did. So I think it's a preference thing. But at the same time, you have to know, why are you there? And if you are a student that is not on scholarship and you are already playing the loan game, and your parents are investing debt in the loan game, then again, you have priorities.
Right.
And that's how I think that separates, I feel, a lot of students. And like I said, I don't feel that every student is created equal, because you can have a good time and very much enjoy yourself your 4 years in school, and you can get through without any problems. Whereas some individuals feel, I have too much fun, and now you're graduating in 8 years or possibly 9 years, and you're wondering where did all that time go.
And that's assuming that you get done at all. I mean, we both went to school with, right. We both went to school with people who we know that were always in the student center, and they never really seemed to have a book anywhere. And when we were leaving, getting ready to graduate, they were still sitting in the student center. So we of course, I mean, I agree with that 100% with what you're saying with priorities. That priority is a very, very, very important aspect of things. Now, let's go ahead and talk briefly, Quintin, about any advice that you may have for those high school students, those juniors or seniors that are getting ready. Let's say you're getting ready to start your junior year this year, you're getting ready to start your senior year this year, and you are thinking that college, you're trying to apply. What advice do you have for these students?
Well, I think that, like you said, the junior year is very critical. The sophomore year, some would argue, also is extremely critical in your development. And what I mean by that is keeping your grades as high as possible. You and I both know, you start taking that pre-SAT, you start taking that pre-ACT, sophomore, junior year in high school. And why that's significant and is important is because you want to score as high as you can on those examinations, because you open yourself up for scholarship monies to different universities, also scholarships to different service organizations, scholarships to corporations. So it's very important that that junior year, to have an idea, of possibly, the different universities you're looking at, whether you're looking community college, whether you're looking 4-year university. So I think that sophomore year, that junior year is very important from the testing standpoint, because you want to have your grades, as high as possible, which every student should be working towards. And again, the testing, you want to have that test. You might take that SAT the first time, and you didn't score as good as you wanted to score at the end of your sophomore year or at the beginning of your junior year. So you continue to study, and then you may take it again. So you give yourself an opportunity in that junior year, that sophomore year, versus that senior year where it's almost too late at that point in time. It's not saying that it can't be done, but you've really put yourself against a wall, because you may have a student that's taken the SAT and did quite well, or took the ACT and did very good, and they're in their junior year, and now they're pretty much, I've gotten the score I need, so now I'm just going to continue to keep my grades up. I'm going to continue to get active in community service work, because that's something that a lot of corporations, a lot of different scholarships, a lot of private scholarships are looking for. Not only are they looking for the student that has a good grade point average, a student that has good testing scores, but they're also looking for students who are going to give back to the community. And you and I both know, how much can you give back to the community in your senior year versus someone that's been doing community service work since their sophomore year.
Right.
They have that much of a jump on you. So it's not just grades, and it's not just test scores. It's a combination of having a total package when you're submitting your information to these different corporations or universities or private funds, or agencies that's giving us aid.
And I want to jump in really quick there, because you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have been on boards, and you have extensive experience with admissions committees and things of that nature, right?
Yes.
So again, and I know you just talked about the community service and having a complete total package. How important is that to people who are sitting on these admissions councils and things of that nature?
Well, you have to look at it, Marcus. It's very tough. I mean, you figure if a student is applying to a university, there's a good chance they've already looked at what's needed. They've looked at the ACT score. They've looked at the They've looked at the ACT score. They've looked at the SAT score. They've looked at the grade point average. They've seen what they need in their personal statement. So everyone is coming to the table with a competitive package. The difference is when you're on these committees, and I've been there, and you're trying to weed out what makes John Doe A better than Jane Doe C. And you start looking, okay, this person was involved in community service at the Boys Club. Boys and Girls Club, I'm sorry. This person was involved in community service, cleaning up their neighborhood at their youth center. And, so you start looking at that versus you see this person here, yes, they did some community service work, but they only have 40 hours, where this person here has over 400 hours of community service work. So as you can see now, it's been broken. They both had good statements. They both had good grade point averages. They both had good letters. They both had strong test scores. But the community service now has broken the tie. And that's where I think a lot of students at times, they sleep on that community service aspect. But that can be the difference between getting aid and to go off to school, or possibly even getting in.
Getting admitted, right.
Getting in, because some liberal arts universities, they're looking for that.
Right.
They are looking for a person that has been out in the community, and because they want that same drive brought to the university when that student gets in.
And you have brought up some really very important points, and I think this is going to be very good for those listening, because a lot of times, especially students, I remember when I got, I was applying for colleges and stuff like that, and it was really hard to know. Of course, our dad and everything like that, finished school and all of that, CPA and all that stuff, but it's hard to sometimes be able to really truly understand what you are going up against when you are trying to make that transition to do something like this. And I would like to now take this time to move on. You've now finished. You've gotten through your 4 years. You've got your bachelor's degree, and your BA or your BS or whatever you're doing. And now let's focus now on these students who have finished. And now they're looking at, okay, I want to get that master's degree, or I want to go ahead now and move on to the PhD. Can you talk a little bit about really taking the time to explore and to investigate the program that you are trying to get admitted into for that next level of postgraduate education?
Well, I think you bring up some very important questions. It's interesting because remember you just asked that question. What should a high schooler be looking for getting into college? I would use the same example for a student, even before they finish their 4 years. Again, your junior year is very critical. It's just different now. It's not in high school. It's in college. And that is because you're looking at, as you know, you're looking at those tests again. You can't get away from them, and that's the thing. Unless the program that you're applying to doesn't require either the GMAT or the GRE or the MAT, unless they don't require, or the LSAT, unless MCAT, unless they don't require those tests, then it's different. But there's very few graduate level programs that doesn't require any type of test. So you figure you're in your junior year and you're looking. Let's just say, for example, I want to get a master's degree in counseling. So at that point in time, the students should be looking. They should be looking if they want to stay local, because some people do, or they may be saying, look, I'm ready to leave home where I am and I'm ready to branch out. You want to get online and you want to look at the schools. You want to see what the schools have to offer. From a grad level standpoint, man, honestly, you want to know what kind of money is involved. Are you going to have to spend money? Is your graduate level education going to be paid? And a lot of that, Marcus, ties into your grade point average coming out of undergrad. A lot of it also ties into your GRE scores coming out of undergrad. So, you want to take that time to do research. You want to research the program, because the last thing you want to do is waste money by saying, oh, I just want a master's degree. A lot of people say that, I just want a master's degree, and then you look up, man, and you're $50,000 in debt because you just wanted a master's degree and now you're not even using it.
Right.
So you will want the person to do the research on their program. So let's say, again, like I said, if they're doing counseling, that's just an example. I'm just using that.
Is that what?
If they're doing counseling,
what is your master's degree and PhD in?
My master's degree is in rehabilitation and mental health counseling. My PhD is in rehabilitation with a specialty in counseling. So that's why I'm using the example, because I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
And I also teach in a counseling program.
Okay.
So if you are looking, at counseling, you want to get online. You want to take a look at the KCREP accredited programs. You want to take a look at the CORE accredited programs. And then you want to start going from there, because at first you want to make sure the program is accredited. That's important. Some people, they apply to programs, they get in the program, and next thing you know, the program's not accredited. And that's because of the lack of research that the student has done either in their senior year, junior year, or have now graduated from college. So you can't get away from that research component. That's very important. Once you find out where you want to go, then it's just like undergrad. You start looking at the requirements to get in the university. I'm not my test scores really weren't that great, honestly, getting into USF, going to Southern Illinois. But the thing is, if you have the means to take one of those prep courses, then I highly suggest it, because you have to remember, I've sat on those committees as well, Marcus, where you are looking, everyone's coming to the table with a good grade point average,
right,
letters of recommendation, good resume. Everyone who's competitive, they're coming to the table with that. So a lot of times when you see these programs and they say, they may just say GRE scores submit or GMAT scores submit. I mean, sometimes that can be the deciding factor if a person gets in the program, because everyone is coming to the table at that point in time very competitive. And as a faculty member, you're just trying to figure out who has the best packet and what puts that person over the top. And sometimes, yes, it is a GRE score. Sometimes it is a grade point average. Sometimes they may have more on their resume, and or it could be a letter of recommendation.
Now, really quick, and let's kind of talk about this too, because sometimes, and I know when you're going in, and this is my background, of course, I'm a medical malpractice attorney, so it's well, I would say a lot different when it comes to how law school is set up and structured from an educational standpoint. But what about that student, Quintin, who went all the way through and they graduated high school, went to their undergrad immediately. Now they're trying to get into this master's program, and they're trying to compete with these individuals who may be on career number 2, career number 3. They've got a very, very detailed resume or work experience. What advice do you have for that student? Because I ran into that in law school. I was just sitting up in classes with people who were on other careers, people who had been paralegals, people who had done a lot of other things, and now they were sitting in the same classroom as me. What advice do you have for that student who may be feeling a little bit threatened or maybe feeling a little insecure at trying to compete or trying to get into a program running up against these type of challenges?
I think honestly, in a situation like that, it's really unfortunate because you can't do anything about age. See, you can't do anything about that. If this person is on their second career and you're not, in an ideal world, there's really nothing you can do about it. What I've told students, because I've had students call me and they'll say, with Dr. Boston, I don't have all this experience.
Right.
And I know that someone else has who's applying and they've been in the field in human services for 10 years.
And real quick, the reason why I say, because that is something that this question is really important, because once you begin to start getting over this bachelor's degree and you're moving on, this can really be a hurdle for a lot of younger students.
Yeah, it can be a hurdle, and what I've encouraged those students to do is this is when your personal statement is vital. This is when it's very important. Your letters of recommendation that are being written for you, they're very important. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times when a person has been out in the workforce, they've been working, but if you think about it, who is going to write their recommendation letters for them? Mm-hmm. Who's going to write them? Someone who's in the field with them, I'm assuming. Someone, let's say if they're paralegal, of course. Okay, so they're going to have some attorneys, writing those letters and stuff for them.
Possibly a judge.
Or a judge, possibly, yes, writing those letters for them. But at the same time, you also have to look at it too, regardless of because a person has been in the field, that doesn't mean they're a good fit for grad school. See, that still doesn't mean that. So the student who is freshly coming out of undergrad, one of the advantages that they will have is the professors will have seen them, and what I mean by that is it's fresh. It's recent. Think about right now, Marcus, if you had to go back and have Professor Arnold write a recommendation letter for you.
Right.
This person really has to scrap now and kind of remember, what did you do?
Right.
Because a lot of times, even though recommendation letters from supervisors are great and from coworkers are good, but at the same time, stuff coming from academics, coming from faculty members is also just as strong.
Okay.
So whereas the student does not have the work experience advantage, they do have the advantage of being fresh in the eyes of a faculty member who at that point in time can write a very strong letter. I would also suggest to a student like that when they meet with their professor or whoever is writing a recommendation letter, Marcus, that recommendation letter needs to talk to maturity. Mm-hmm. It needs to say something to the effect that this person, even though they are 23 or 24 years old, they're fresh out of undergrad, they still have the maturity level of a professional that's been working for 3 or 4 years or 5 possibly. So you would want that letter to say, their letter to say something to that effect. But at the end of the day, you cannot do anything about if this person is deciding to come back. You have to let the chips fall where they may. You know, if this is a program that you want to apply to, you're going to apply to that school, and you're going to bring a good package to that school, and you're going to put your best portfolio forward, regardless of if the other person that you're competing against has been in the field for 10 years.
That's some really good sound advice, Quintin. And like I said, the reason why I say law school at times can be very different when it comes to this stuff is because of the way the grading situation is in law schools. Law schools don't like to admit it, but they curve real hard. And by that, I mean that at some schools, if you got 10 people in the class, only 2, maybe 1 or 2 will get an A. It doesn't matter if everybody, quote, does A work. Only 1 or 2 will get an A. So everyone else is now falling in this curve. And that's what really can make things really challenging, because if you do, for example, have a person who's come out of the business world and you're taking a corporations class, well, a lot of the things that you're learning as a first time student, you know, you're really having to really work really hard, because this person's experience with dealing with an LLC or dealing with the you know, corporation and how voting works and all of these things, they have personal experience possibly with this. So of course it's going to reflect in the classroom when it comes to a lot of discussions and things of that nature. So I'm glad that you had an opportunity to talk about that, because I think that is very important. I want to also, Quintin, because I know we've been talking now for about 30 minutes, but this information is very important to a lot of people coming up and trying to get a better understanding of some of this stuff. I want to talk about your blog. You have a blog, right?
Yes, I sure do.
And what's the name of it?
Well, the name of the blog is actually Dr. QB's Educational Tips.
Okay. And that website and that blog can be found, if you're listening right now and you want to go to that blog, you can go to getmotivatedtofinish.wordpress.com.
www.getmotivatedtofinish, all one word, .wordpress.com.
Right. So they can go, and as a matter of fact, I have it up right now, and it looks like you have been posting a lot of helpful information, from presenting at a conference to finals to doing final exams, graduation for spring students, letters of recommendation. So there's a lot of helpful information here for anyone listening. And if you would like to, I would strongly suggest that if you're listening to this, that you take a quick moment and you fill out the email information about this blog, because what happens is when Dr. Boston writes a new article, then you'll be emailed and alerted that a new article is out. And if you're in school right now, we didn't have things like this, right? When we were in school, this wasn't there.
And what's interesting with the blog is I center the blog around the academic calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, it's August now, and the semester, pretty much most universities are getting started either the middle of August or the first week in September, unless they're on quarters or on semesters. So the blog will run consistently. I will post once a week from August to December. We'll take a quick break for December, because December is the Christmas holiday.
Right.
So school is out, and then we'll come back possibly that second or that third week in January for the spring semester, and I'll post again once a week from January to May. So I operate the blog. I try to keep it as close to an academic calendar year as possible. That way students are familiar. So they're expecting, once the next week comes around, they're expecting to read a new topic. And because when the summer rolls around, it's an option. Students can either go to classes or, they can take the summer off. So I post very sparingly over the summer, but it's mainly the fall and the spring semesters, just as if they would be on an academic calendar in the classroom.
And for those also looking for more information, Dr. Boston has been posting this since June of 2011. So we're talking about quite a few articles for people to read and get a better understanding of all of this. So I would like to also let the listeners know that it's some really good information here. And one more thing, Quintin, before we get ready to wrap this podcast up for today, is do you have any thoughts on, because like I said, this is going to go up on YouTube and this is going to go up on Facebook and all these other things. Oh, and by the way, I do have your permission to record all of this, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Of course, had to get that legal aspect of everything in, but I wanted to see if you had any final words on the person who is 34 years old, sitting home right now, listening to this or watching this, and think that they really need to go back to school to get some education, but they're unsure. They don't even know where to start. What would you say to that person?
Well, one of the things it's a good question. One of the things I would ask them or challenge them is, how long have they been thinking about going back? And because it's a commitment. And one of the things that I would assure them of is you don't have to jump in hardcore right away. And what I mean by that is universities have part-time. You have the option to go part-time, or you have the option to go full-time.
Evening programs also.
Also, Marcus, you have your non-traditional online programs. So if a person is sitting home and they are thinking, I want to go back to college, I think I want to do this, my challenge to them would be is like any other situation, do your research, decide which route is better for you. Is it better for you to go part-time? Is it better for you to go full-time? Is it better for you to do an online program because you may be computer savvy? I think that's where I would start. That's where I would start. I wouldn't try to push an agenda on the individual, basically because, again, it's their choice, how they want to proceed. So, it would be a conversation of, part-time, a conversation of either part-time or full-time, or also what are your needs? Because it's different now. What I mean by that is there are a lot of ways to where a person can earn a bachelor's degree or even an associate's degree without, per se going full time,
Like it was when we were in school,
right,
pretty much.
Yeah, right. So, there are a lot of options out here now. People, professors are doing hybrid courses. I mean, they're doing 8 weeks in class. They're doing 8 weeks out of class. Their classes are full-fledged online, so there are a lot of opportunities now for a non-traditional student, which is what this person would be, a non-traditional student going back and picking up either an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree.
And also, too, while we're talking about this, there's also, you want to talk briefly too about the career counselors at a lot of institutions, a lot of universities and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an extension of a guidance counselor from high school, man. Whereas, well, again, I really didn't see my guidance counselor a lot, which is a different story for a different day. But you do have individuals at those universities, at the university, can actually sit down and map out an entire program for you, to kind of let you know what classes you would need. Because a lot of universities, Marcus, now that traditional catalog, man, is not really being mailed out anymore. I mean, Think about it. How often do you go to the mailbox and you have a catalog every semester from the colleges up there?
Right.
A lot of this stuff is online, man.
That's about like right now a law firm advertising with the yellow pages. If you're using the yellow pages right now to still advertise your law firm, you are going the way of the dinosaurs and you will be extinct and out of business pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, so it's you have to look at that as well. You know that the career counselors, the guidance counselors, university counselors, that enrollment counselors, they're there to to help the individual, make them kind of feel comfortable. In regards to what they'll be looking at, what they would need. So the person doesn't have to look at it as if they're going at this alone. I mean, they can even make an appointment, just to, or even call up to the universities to talk to those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not an excuse anymore, in regards to a person saying, I just didn't know. Because there are a lot of different avenues that a person can pursue now to get that ultimate goal, and again, what their ultimate goal is, whether it's a bachelor's degree or advanced education.
Awesome, man. That's some really good information right there. Well, Quintin, I think that pretty much sums up what we wanted to talk about today on this podcast. The reason why I thought that this would be a very, very important topic is because, and if people who consistently listen to this podcast, you guys know that most of the time we are talking about Maryland medical malpractice issues and things like that. But I was talking to Renee the other day, and we were talking about this aspect of community and this aspect of college, and it's August, and people are probably right now sitting out when they wondering, what's going on. There's a student right now sitting in an orientation right now, wondering, oh my God, what is this that I've signed up for? Especially in some of these master's level, PhD level, law school level, schools with a lot of this stuff. So I think I really thank you for coming on today, Quintin, and talking and sharing your expertise in this. And also, Quintin, before I let you go, man, do you have any words of encouragement, man? Just basic words of encouragement for those students who are out here, because, and I don't know if you know really a lot about this. You've got a lot of people now who are they're having regrets about their college education and whether or not it's even worth their time. Do you have any thoughts on that? And I know, because there's a couple of ways to look at that. The person who is coming out of high school, they're starting their own business, they're making it work. That person is on a different path. And that person, if they feel that that's the right path for them, hey, I'm all for it. I'm a business owner, make it happen. But what about this college student right now, man, who is really, is really struggling with this decision?
Well, I think I think you really answered it, Marcus. I think it's your path. It's your roadmap that you've put yourself on. And I think it's how you respond, either in a positive way or a negative way. If things aren't going, the way that you want it to go, either you can stay the course or you can make some adjustments in regards to what you're doing. But I definitely feel that a student who has gotten there 4 years, or they've gotten their degree, and and they feel that they're not making the progress that they want to be making. One is you can always look at you're learning lessons in any type of situation you're in, whether good, whether bad. If the stuff isn't moving in the direction that you want it to go, then you can look at what you're doing, and what you can look at it and say is, this isn't working. I've been doing this now for a year, or I've been doing this now, I've been out of school 6 months, and X, Y, and Z isn't happening for me. So at that point in time, you can start making some adjustments. And one of the ways is you can start talking to people, who have the same degree that you have, or people who you feel is moving in a very good, solid direction. But either way, it's going to require that person, to kind of open up a little bit. And it's also going to require that person to acknowledge the fact that, I'm not moving in the direction that I want to go in right now. And they have to be okay with listening to the response that they would get from a person who is moving in a different direction. And they also have to give themselves know what, I don't know everything. And I now have to reach out and get a little bit of help, or I need to modify some of the things that I'm doing in order to get to where I need to be. But I wouldn't look at it from the standpoint, I would tell them, I wouldn't look at it from the standpoint of, man, I've wasted 4 years of my life. I can't get those 4 years back. I've gotten this degree in salvage. I can't do anything. I wouldn't look at it that way, because you still learned some very critical life lessons on your way to get that degree. You also learned some social skills lessons when you got that degree. You were challenged in different ways cognitively than you would have been challenged possibly had you not gotten the degree or earned the degree. So there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different positive things to bring out of those 4 or 5 years that it took to get the degree, even if stuff isn't moving in the direction that you wanted to move in at that present point.
And with that, I think that's going to be it for this BLG BTV podcast. Quintin, is there any other way that people can get in contact with you if they would like to talk with you more about this? Is there a good email address?
I can give you my email address.
Okay.
For a person, they can contact me through. They can actually contact me through QBoston @gmail.com. That's QBoston @gmail.com. Or they can contact me at Get Motivated to Finish. That's all one word @gmail.com. And those are two ways that a person can get in contact with me. And I'm pretty good about responding back to my emails. So those are two ways that a person can contact me.
And for those who might not have, who might have had, who didn't hear it correctly, the website for everything is getmotivatedtofinish.wordpress.com, and that is GETMOTIVINISH.WORDPRESS.com. So, Quintin, anything else?
That's going to be it, man.
All right, Quintin. Like I said, Dr. Boston, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today about this very, very important subject. And for all of those listening, if you have a topic or if you would like to come on and talk with us in length during some of our podcasts about either your career, what you have, and what you offer to the community, you can send me an email at info@bostonlawllc.com. Again, that's info@bostonlawllc.com. If you are watching this video right now on YouTube, this podcast, take a quick moment and subscribe to our YouTube page. The reason why that's important is because if you are a subscriber to our channel, then YouTube will alert you and let you know, hey, Boston Law Group LLC, they've got some more information up here. Take a look at some of the videos. Again, I'm Marcus Boston. Guys, thanks for taking the time. You have just listened to a podcast from the trial attorneys at Boston Law Group LLC. For more information, you can reach us at 301-850-4832. And if you would like us to answer a question in one of our podcasts, send us an email at info@bostonlawllc.com. Thank you and have a great day.